I tossed a bag of coins at her lawyer's feet, my heart as cold as the metal clinking on the floor. Hope you enjoy your 304 money. Her affairs with multiple lawyers had shattered our vows. She accused me with venom. You piece of shit, Southsider! Our home, once filled with love, was now a battleground of deceit and whispered secrets. You owe me more, she demanded in court, but her eyes revealed the lies. My revenge was simple, yet just. Payback in pennies, justice in each jingle. This is my story. Enjoy watching it. I have decided to set the spousal support at $2,000 per month. I'll also continue to pay the mortgage, $1,000 in child support, and health insurance until our child is an adult. If our child goes to college, I'll need to cover those costs too. The judge said this would all add up to over $6,500 a month for me. My wife has been unfaithful with some of her co-workers, and now it feels like I'm the one being treated unfairly. My name is Kurt D'Angelo, and my ex-wife is Lily. My daughter Regina means everything to me. She's definitely a daddy's girl. I always take her with me whenever I can. She told the judge she wanted to live with me, but he didn't agree. The whole court process seemed unfair. The amount I have to pay each month is too much. Lily has her own job and income. I don't see why I should have to pay for everything. I felt like the judge was against me too, but I'm not just going to accept this. I've already started planning ways to make her regret treating me this way. I grew up in Lansing, Illinois, and we don't take things lightly there. Some would say I'm an entrepreneur. I say I'm a businessman who spots opportunities and grabs them. When I was younger, not all the ways I made money were exactly legal. Now, I'm involved in real estate. I own vending machines and another business that will be perfect for getting back at my ex-wife. I own a business like Coinstar with machines all over Chicago and northern Indiana. I'm going to pay my spousal support entirely in coins, $2,000 worth. Let her take that to the bank and see how they like it when they ask her to roll them up. Lily stayed home with Regina until she started school. Then Lily worked part-time jobs for a few years. Eventually, she decided to become a paralegal. She studied for 2 years and sent out lots of resumes. 6 weeks later, she got a job at a big law firm. Lily is smart, but I think it was her appearance, even at 32, that landed her the job. She quickly got noticed at the firm and became an assistant to a promising lawyer. Looking back, I wonder if she was trading favors even then. I supported her career choice, always there for her. She would come home tired but happy. Now I wonder what made her so tired and why she was smiling. We lived in a nice house in Oak Forest, Illinois, a typical middle-class area. But as she got closer to her colleagues, she started wanting more. She said we needed to move to a fancier neighborhood to match our status. I liked our house. We had made it our own. I didn't want to move to an expensive suburb, but after 2 years of her insisting, I agreed. However, I said we wouldn't sell our house. We'd rent it out. So we bought a house in Wilmette on the north side of Chicago. It was a $900,000 home I called a mansion. It wasn't near Lake Michigan, but close. She furnished it exactly how she wanted. I never felt at home there. In fact, looking back, that might have been the start of our problems. We wanted different things from life. Now, about the judge's decision in our divorce, I would follow his orders exactly. But she wasn't going to like it. Over the next month, I made my plans. My daughter would have her child support, but it would go into an account just for her needs. Lily would get basic health insurance with a high deductible. She would have to pay for most of her health care unless it was very serious. Then, the insurance would help. When it was time to make the first spousal support payment to Lily, I had it delivered in a unique way. An armored truck pulled up to her new mansion. The driver knocked on the door. When she answered, one of her co-workers was with her. The driver told her he was delivering her first payment. She was confused about why there was an armored truck in her driveway. Some curious neighbors came out, maybe thinking she had won a big prize. What they saw was 2 men carrying bags of coins into her house, dumping them on her fancy marble floor. The noise was incredible. I was across the street recording everything on my phone. As the truck drove off, she saw me and started yelling. I just waved and shouted, Hope you enjoy your 304 money. Then I drove away. On Tuesday, a man came up to me asking if I was Kurt D'Angelo. I didn't respond. "Excuse me, sir, are you Kurt D'Angelo?" he asked a bit louder. I stayed silent. He took out his phone, snapped a photo of me, and tried to hand me some papers. When I didn't take them, he dropped them on the ground, said, "You've been served," and left. After he was gone, I picked up the papers. They were a court summons for the next Wednesday. I spent the week preparing and also went to lunch with my daughter, Regina. She was upset with her mom and wanted to live with me, but her mom refused. I told Regina I'd ask the judge again, but it might not change things. Regina said she'd speak her mind in court, even if it risked getting her into trouble. I told her not to worry about me. I'd set up a trust for her with Uncle Ken as the trustee until she was old enough. The money was for her, not her mom. Regina was determined to support me in court. On Wednesday, we waited for our turn. Regina's mom and her lawyer showed up and were rude to me. When the judge called us, Regina stood up first and asked to live with me instead of her mom, who she called out in court. The judge told her to speak respectfully. Regina argued she should choose who she lives with at 15, but the judge mentioned a psychiatrist's report that favored her mom. I was shocked, and my lawyer denied any knowledge of accusations against me. The judge stood by his decision. Earlier, Regina had seen a psychiatrist due to the divorce stress. It seemed her mom used the psychiatrist's notes to influence the judge. I was furious and felt wronged. Later, Regina's mom's lawyer tried to claim I hadn't paid my dues, but my lawyer countered, showing I had paid everything, even in coins, which was still legal. However, this had caused a mess at her place. The judge suggested I pay by check in the future. My lawyer then asked if the Chicago police were part of the city's legal system, which confused the judge, leaving him questioning the relevance. Then my lawyer pointed out that if I needed to get my car from the police impound in Chicago, I couldn't pay with a check. I would have to use cash or a credit card. The judge hesitated. My lawyer argued, if the police, a part of Chicago's legal system, don't accept checks, then why must my client pay his future spousal support with a check? The judge, looking embarrassed, defensively said, "This is my court and I decide the rules." I couldn't stand it anymore. I stood up and accused, "You're just trying to please my wife's law firm. Is she special to you?" At that, the judge exploded. "Mr. D'Angelo, you are in contempt of court. I'm sentencing you to 6 months in Cook County Jail unless you apologize and agree to my conditions." "Who are you, the king of this unfair court?" I shouted. The judge was taken aback. "Bailiff, take him away," he ordered. I glanced at Lily and her lawyer. They looked shocked. "Good luck getting your money now," I said with a smirk. She didn't realize how much her life was about to change. I was taken away, searched, and brought to jail. Jail, which is really more like a prison. Right away, 2 guards scolded me for disrespecting the judge. I wasn't intimidated. I'm a tall, strong man, and I've always been fit from working on my properties. I had even spent some time in juvenile detention as a teen. I was processed and taken to the yard. I ignored the noise and threats, determined to stay out of trouble. I planned to be invisible, as long as no one bothered me. During dinner, I grabbed my tray and ate against the wall, watching the tough guys trying to act important. Suddenly, I heard a familiar voice from my past. "Tex?" called out Randall, known as Ringer. It had been decades since I'd heard that name. I put down my tray and we hugged, greeting each other warmly. "Ringer, how are you?" I asked, although clearly we were both not in the best place. "I called the judge out," I admitted. "That would do it," he laughed. "So, how long are you in for?" 6 months, unless I apologize. So, 6 months, I said. We chatted, catching up and getting looks from other inmates. Ringer promised to have my back. After I told him about my situation, he knew I was planning revenge, just like in our old days. "So, what happened with the judge?" he asked. I explained that the judge had unfairly taken my daughter from me and even accused me of harming her. "So, what will you do?" Ringer asked. "I've got plans," I replied, "and started them weeks ago." "Need help?" he offered. "Maybe, but let's see," I said, glad to have a friend here. He introduced me to some of his friends, ensuring I had support inside. Later, Ringer shared stories from our younger days in Lansing, and we reminisced. That night, as I lay in my bunk, I thought about my life. My childhood had been tough, with an abusive father and a passive mother. That drove me to the streets, where I joined a group of guys in similar situations. We got into trouble, nothing serious, though we did steal a couple of cars, which landed me in juvenile detention. Looking back, that time helped me rethink my life's direction. I promised myself to make something of my life. By 20, I had bought and fixed up my first house. By 22, I was out, trying my luck at a club where I met Lily. She was from Seymour, Indiana, a place most known for being the birthplace of John Cougar Mellencamp. He was already well known and had moved away before Lily was born, so she never met him. Growing up in a small Midwest town, Lily had a view on life that I found appealing. We seemed to be opposites, and yet we got married a year later. The following year, our daughter Regina was born, named after Lily's mom. I bought a house in Oak Forest to renovate and sell, but Lily fell in love with it and wanted us to live there. We spent the next 10 years fixing it up just how we wanted, which were the best years of my life. We watched Regina grow, had neighbors over for barbecues, and lived the American dream. Then, Lily got a job at a law firm, and things started to change. She wanted fancy clothes and jewelry, and our simple barbecues turned into dinners at upscale restaurants with her colleagues. She even started making negative comments about people from the south side of Chicago. We argued a lot about her new attitude. Eventually, she pushed for us to move to the north side. 3 years ago, we moved there for better schools, but Regina struggled with the attitudes of her classmates. She often said she wanted to go back. I did too, but Lily was set on staying. The night that led to our decision to divorce was typical for that time. Lily said she was going dancing with colleagues. That night, however, I followed her and watched from the shadows. She was dancing closely with several men at the club. Later, in the restroom, I overheard 2 men talking crudely about their interactions with Lily. I was upset, but decided to keep calm and plan. I saw Lily leaving the club with a young lawyer and decided it was the last straw. I told Regina we were leaving, and she quickly packed, excited to go. We moved back to our house in Oak Forest. The next day, Lily called, confused about where we were. I told her we were at our old home and that Regina and I were done living with her. She tried to argue, but I told her to expect divorce papers. She threatened legal action, but I was determined to handle whatever came next. Over the next 6 months, Lily didn't try to reconcile. She went out frequently and criticized me to Regina, telling her to aim to marry rich. But for me, there was no turning back. Although Regina had to return to school, our lives had changed completely. Regina always stood up for me and told her mom she wanted to go back to Oak Forest. Now, as I lie here in jail, Lily probably thinks she's won. I'm in jail, but I plan to use this time wisely. I wonder if Lily has considered how the mortgage, her health insurance, and her spousal support will be paid. She probably thinks a few days in jail will change my mind. Instead, it gives me more time to plan my revenge. On Thursday afternoon, something happened that would affect many people. Some I would never meet. 2 guards ordered me to follow them. They took me to a video conference room. "What's this about?" I asked. "If I'm going to speak to the judge, I want my lawyer here." They pushed me into the room and told me to sit down, saying, "You're not talking to the judge, but you're about to face some consequences." They closed the door, and I started yelling to be let out. About 10 minutes later, I was pacing when the door opened, and the guards let 6 other inmates in. I knew they were up to no good, and I was ready to defend myself. "Don't mess with me," I warned. "You'll regret it." One came at me, and I punched him in the nose, hearing it crack. Then they all rushed me. I fought back hard, using punches, kicks, and elbows. The biggest one got me in a chokehold, and I struggled until I blacked out. I woke up in the infirmary, hurt and in pain. They had shown their dominance, and I knew what had happened. It was morning when a nurse came to me. I looked at her angrily, upset with the system that took away my child, forced me to pay so Lily could live luxuriously, and put me here as a lesson. The nurse, seeing my anger, said, "I'm here to help, not hurt. You've been in a fight, but we both know what really happened. I can help you feel better, or you can stay in pain. It's your choice." She sounded sincere. I tried to smile and said, "Sorry, it's been tough." She returned with breakfast and freed one of my hands. "Thank you," I said. "You're welcome," she replied. As I ate, I knew my next steps. "Can I ask a favor?" I asked. "That depends," she answered cautiously. "I have a friend here, Randall Turner. Can he visit me?" I asked. She said she would see what she could do. Later, she managed to get permission for Randall to visit. He came that afternoon. Seeing me, he exclaimed, "Oh no." He knew I had plans. I described the 6 inmates and 2 guards involved. "I need their full names, not nicknames," I told him. "Oh no," he repeated, understanding my intentions. "What will you do?" "An eye for an eye," I said. He nodded, knowing it wouldn't be pleasant and might hurt innocent people. He agreed to help. We talked more before he left. That night I hardly slept, uncomfortable and restless. The next day Randall returned with the names. He asked again what I would do. "The less you know, the better," I said. The next day was Sunday, and Lily visited with Regina. "So, you're getting along with your fellow inmates?" Lily taunted. "What do you want?" I asked angrily. Regina wanted to visit. "Are you ready to apologize and be reasonable?" she asked. "No way. And stop saying things about me and Regina," I replied. Lily smirked, enjoying my frustration. But when Regina came in, she cried, seeing me hurt. "Don't cry, honey. It's not as bad as it looks," I reassured her. "Dad, I can't stand living with Mom anymore," she said. "She's saying awful things about us." "I know, Regina," I comforted her. "Don't call me that," she said firmly. "Call me Gina. I don't want any connection to Mom or her family. I've told her that, and I'm not talking to her unless I have to." "Gina," I said, proud of her strength, "you're more like me than you realize." We talked about little things, and then I asked for a favor. "Anything, Dad," she replied. I gave her the list that Ringer had prepared for me, and she quickly tucked it into her shirt. "Give this to Uncle Ken and tell him to visit me soon," I said. My brother Ken, 3 years younger than me, grew up with the same harsh father as I did. I tried to protect him from our father's anger as much as I could. Ken was the smart one. He loved computer games and soon got into computers themselves. We talked for a bit until Lily returned and told Regina it was time to leave. Regina just hugged me without saying a word to Lily, then walked out. Lily remarked, "Your daughter is as stubborn as you are." I just smiled and she left. On Tuesday, Ken visited. He was surprised by how I looked, but joked that I looked better than last Friday. We started talking in a secret language we created as kids to talk about things without our parents understanding. In our secret language, Ken said, "Gina gave me the list. I've started looking into it. Are you looking for addresses of wives or girlfriends?" In English, he then realized the gravity and cursed. I instructed him in our language to give the list to Gummy and ask him to visit me without it. Gummy was a nickname for a friend who lived in his parents' old house. Ken agreed to help. "Anything else?" he asked. "No, that's enough. But don't be a stranger," I replied. He promised to visit again soon. Later that week, word got around that trouble was brewing, but no one knew exactly what. The guards and some inmates gave me wary looks, as if warning me to stay in line. Little did they know they would be the ones to be surprised. Gummy visited and confirmed he got the list from Ken. I told him to subtly warn those who wronged me without leaving any evidence. We planned for everything to happen simultaneously, sending a clear message: don't mess with Texas. Days later, the mood in the prison changed. Some inmates started calling me Tex. The guards and inmates involved got the message when their personal lives were shaken up. They realized their actions had consequences. One of the guards confronted me, threatening to make my life miserable. I warned him, hinting that his family could be involved next. When he tried to attack me, he was pulled away by another guard. Many saw what happened, and it was probably caught on camera. I ended up in the infirmary again. The nurse, Beth, remembered me. "Looks like we have a troublemaker," she said as she treated me. I explained that I hadn't started the fight. She mentioned there would be an investigation and the aggressive guard might lose his job. Weeks passed, and I wondered why Gina hadn't visited. Finally, Ken told me Lily was refusing to bring her. This made me even more frustrated, reinforcing my resolve to handle things my way. My ex-wife Lily was holding on to my daughter Gina. At the end of the month, Lily came to visit. She almost didn't bring Gina, who refused to leave the car despite Lily's yelling. Lily entered, annoyed, complaining, "Your daughter is being stubborn. She barely talks to me. She's just as stubborn as you." You said that last time, I reminded her. Why don't you ask the judge to give me custody? I'd be happy to take her. Lily was adamant. I told you she needs to be in a good school to succeed. Wilmette offers a great education and opportunities for her future. Our daughter will make her own path, I argued. She doesn't need to depend on others. Lily retorted, You're just as stubborn. You can't see the benefits. We've had this argument too many times. What are you really here for, Lily? I asked, knowing she didn't bring Gina just for a visit. Her name is Regina, not Gina, Lily corrected. Well, she prefers Gina, I said. Don't you want her to be independent and make her own decisions? You mean stubborn, Lily countered. No, I mean independent, I insisted. She shouldn't be swayed by money or power. Lily knew I was hinting at her and scoffed. Anyway, I need my spousal support payment, Lily said. There are things I need to buy, bills to pay. I replied, You'll have to manage with your own salary while I'm in jail. I can't send checks from here. What am I supposed to do about the bills? She asked, frustrated. Get one of your lawyer friends to help, I suggested. She stormed out angrily. Then Gina came in. Wow, you really upset her, she noted. She thinks I'll keep paying her while I'm in jail, I said. Don't worry about me, Gina. How are you holding up? Not much, Gina replied. I only talk to Mom when necessary. When are you getting out? Not soon, I said. I won't apologize to that judge unless he gives you back to me. Gina sighed. My birthday is next month. I wish you could be out, but I don't want you to compromise your principles. We'll celebrate later, I assured her, feeling torn about staying in jail and missing her birthday. Gina then quoted Abraham Lincoln, If a person doesn't have principles, he has nothing. Important principles may and must be inflexible. Where did you hear that? I asked. Dr. Hodges, my school counselor, she replied. It's helped me deal with Mom, I nodded. Wilmette schools have psychologists as counselors, I mused. Gina continued, Mom's getting annoyed with me, but I just ignore her. In a few months, she'll need to find somewhere else to live, I mentioned. The bank will foreclose on the mansion soon. Gina worried. Won't that ruin your credit? I usually buy with cash, I explained. That house was the only exception. Really? Gina was impressed. You've managed all your properties without loans? Yes, I confirmed. You always lift my spirits, Gina. It was a good visit, but missing her birthday would be hard. Gina was strong, though. I later learned that a guard who had mistreated me was fired, which earned me some respect among the inmates. Now even more people were calling me Texas. I had fewer problems after that. I heard some of the men involved had personal troubles because of their actions. Hey, maybe people learn better when there are consequences. My reputation among the other inmates improved. A few weeks later, I was called to meet with the judge via video. I told the guard I wouldn't meet without my lawyer, but the judge was waiting. I don't care, I want my lawyer, I insisted. The guard left, and 3 days later, they rescheduled the meeting. My lawyer and I got to talk beforehand, which was good because he hadn't been given any information about this meeting. When we connected with the judge, he seemed annoyed about the delay. I wasn't bothered. To me, the judge was just another person who thought he was above everyone. My lawyer began by asking the judge what the meeting was about. The judge said he wanted to see if I would apologize for an outburst I had. I signaled to my lawyer, and he told the judge I wouldn't apologize and asked instead for an apology from the judge and for custody of my child. The judge was shocked and refused. He insisted his decision about my child was final. Well, this was a waste of time, my lawyer concluded. As we were about to disconnect, the judge added that I wasn't keeping up with my divorce payments. I whispered to my lawyer, and he told the judge that I couldn't pay while I was in jail and that the house might go into foreclosure. I directly told the judge it wasn't my house. I never wanted it. It's a small price to pay to get back at my ex-wife, I added. Then I made a comment about her other relationships, which I knew would make him angry. The judge lost his temper and threatened me, saying I had just earned 2 extra months in jail. I smiled as I waited for the guard to take me back to my cell. The guard looked shocked by what had happened. Back in my cell, I felt energized. I knew my wife had been talking about our financial issues, which got back to the judge. The whole situation was a mess. That Sunday, Lily came to visit me in jail. Gina came too. Lily complained about me getting more jail time. Just make sure Gina visits regularly, I said, turning away from her. Then Gina came in with a big smile. "I'm happy because I get to see my dad," she said. I sensed there was more. "I have a surprise for you, but I can't say what it is yet." "Will you sign this without reading it?" she asked, showing me a folded paper. I trusted her and signed it. Gina mentioned I had extended my jail time. "Had a run-in with the judge?" she guessed. We talked about her school and her mom. She mentioned a doctor named Alex Hodges, sparking my curiosity about her surprise. "I'm sorry I'll miss your sweet 16, but I'll have a birthday present for you next time," I promised. At the end of the visit, I asked her to bring Greg to see me next time. Greg was someone I relied on a lot. He helped me with all my business matters. "Sure, Dad," she said. I had asked Greg to handle a few tasks, anticipating my jail time. I hoped he had managed them. Now I had a new task for him, a birthday surprise for Gina. Later that week, Greg visited. He had successfully completed many tasks I'd assigned. Next, I asked him to arrange a birthday surprise for Gina. "Are you sure?" he asked. "Yes, it's the perfect gift for her." "Okay, I'll talk to our lawyer," he said, "and I'll visit your brother Ken with what you gave me. He'll know what to do. If he has questions, he can visit me. Otherwise, he should coordinate with Gummy." "Will do," he said, and left. I smiled all day, knowing Gummy understood my plans and would carry out my revenge while I was in jail, blame-free. By month's end, I was more popular among the inmates. They had heard how I stood up to the judge, and like in any group, the news spread fast. Soon, everyone was calling me Tex. At the end of the month, I had another visitor. It was Lily. "I want to leave," she said upon arrival. "Kurt, please stop. I need to talk." "I have nothing to say to you, Lily," I replied. "We're going to lose our house. You have to help stop the foreclosure." "That's your house, Lily. I never wanted it. But you insisted. Let the bank take it. Kurt, you have to help me." "Ask your rich friends for help," I suggested. "Then you can really be the 304 you act like." "Why are you doing this?" she cried. "Why did you lie to the judge about me hurting our daughter?" She was speechless, knowing she had wronged me. Overcome with emotion, she broke down, and I walked away. While being escorted back, the guard received a call to bring me back. Expecting Lily, I was surprised to see Gina instead. "Your mom didn't say you were here," I said. "I wouldn't let her come without me," she replied. "I'm sorry I missed your birthday, but I have a gift for you." "Dad, it's okay. I still love you," Gina said. "You don't need to give me anything." I thought, what a wonderful daughter. "I don't have the gift here. It's not possible, but I can tell you, it's the Oak Forest home. It's yours, in a trust until you're an adult. Can I stay there once you're out?" "Of course, and you can pay rent," I said. Her eyes lit up and she beamed. "Dad, that's amazing. You've just removed a big obstacle for your surprise. I can't tell you yet, but you'll understand when I do. I love you so much." "I love you too, honey." I wondered what her surprise could be. We both smiled as we talked more. She mentioned her counselor, Alex, again. I wondered if she had a crush on him and hoped he was professional. I knew I needed to meet Alex when I got out. As I returned to my cell, I was happy about both my sharp words with Lily and my great conversation with Gina. The other inmates noticed my smile, knowing it meant something significant had happened. Then Gummy visited. Everything was ready. Videos of my wife and her colleagues, some married, caught in compromising situations, were all set to expose their misdeeds. People overlook the cleaning staff, I mused. We had them place hidden cameras. Soon everyone will see what we've recorded. My brother would anonymously post these videos online with the tagline, "Don't mess with Texas." They'd be sent to news outlets and create a media storm. "In a week, let the others know the next steps," I told Gummy. He agreed. As I walked back, I smiled broadly. Ringer saw and knew I had met with Gummy. "Oh no," he said, realizing something big was planned. When the videos were released, the jail buzzed with the news. "Don't mess with Texas," they said. Later, one of the men who had troubled me apologized. "I realize now you shouldn't be crossed," he said. "I accept your apology," I replied, warning him that size doesn't prevent consequences. 3 days later, the judge summoned me again. He had already called my lawyer, who was on his way. We sat in the video room, waiting for the judge to connect. "I wonder what this is about," he said with a smirk. "Only time will tell," I replied, smiling. "Oh no," he muttered as the judge appeared on screen looking angry. "You did this?" the judge shouted. "What are you talking about?" I responded calmly. "Your text, right?" he continued yelling. "Some people call me that," I answered calmly. "You'll pay for this," he yelled again. "I've been in jail for the last 4 months. How could I have done anything?" I replied logically. "You have friends?" he asked. "We all have friends, Your Honor," I said with a hint of sarcasm. "You won't get away with this," he threatened. "I don't know, Judge. You may be out of a job soon, and I hear your wife is leaving you," I retorted. "Call off your friends," he demanded. "Now you're calling my friends dogs. If you corner a dog, it might bite," I warned. "Are you threatening me?" he asked. "No, just an old saying," I clarified. "I'll make your life miserable once you're out," he threatened. "One day you'll face people who don't care about your life, and I'll be satisfied with whatever happens to you," he added before ending the call. I turned to my lawyer. "Did you get that?" "Sure did," he replied, holding up his phone. "The Bar Association will want to hear about this. Intimidation is a serious offense here in Illinois." A few days later, my wife visited again. "Oh, it's you." "I thought I made it clear I have nothing more to say to you," I said sharply. "You got me fired. My picture is everywhere. How could you do this?" she accused. "You did it to yourself," I replied coldly. "Do you hate me that much?" she asked. "Yes, and all those lawyers you think are better than everyone," I shot back. "When we first met, you were sweet. Now you only care about yourself." "What will you do now?" she asked, distressed. "Maybe go back to your hometown," I suggested. "I can't. Everyone there knows about the scandal, and my parents are moving to Florida to escape the gossip," she explained. "Florida might be good for you too. Keeps you far from me," I noted. "They don't want to see me either," she said sadly. "Looks like nobody wants to talk to you. Maybe it's you, not them. Just don't take Gina with you when you leave," I advised. "I need her. She's all I have," she protested. "That's your problem. You made these choices," I said harshly. She then asked if I had brought Gina. "It's Regina, and no, she's busy," she corrected angrily. "Then we have nothing more to discuss. Don't come back unless you bring her," I concluded and walked away. I felt a bit sorry for her. She seemed completely defeated. The next day, news broke that a law firm's top-floor office had burned down and their data was lost. I just smiled. Gina visited a couple of weeks later, beaming with joy. "Gina, you look so happy. What's the news?" I greeted her. "I've got a big surprise. It involves the Oak Forest house," she hinted. "Don't tell me you and your mom moved back there," I guessed. "Half right. Mom's losing her house and I'm moving to Oak Forest," she revealed. "How? You're still a minor," I questioned. "That's the surprise. I'm legally an adult now. I got emancipated with help from Alex," she explained. "Once you gave me the house, finding a safe place to live became easy," she added. "So you're an adult now?" I clarified. "Yes, and I can't wait to return to high school in Oak Forest. My friends are excited too," she shared. "I heard you were seeing a counselor, Alex. I'd like to meet him," I said, still unsure about this older guy around her. "You're in luck. Alex drove me here today," she informed me. I was starting to worry. He was driving her around Chicago. "I'll be right back," she said as she walked toward the door. I needed to figure out how to gently warn Alex about his behavior with my daughter. I didn't want to upset Gina, but I needed Alex to be careful. When Gina returned, she was followed by a stunning woman with raven hair, not a man. She smiled and asked, "How have you been?" Recognizing her, I said, "Freddie?" She replied, "I haven't heard that name in about 20 years. It's Alexandria now. Frederico was from my old neighborhood. We didn't hang out much, but we went to the same school." Gina looked confused. "Dad, how do you know Dr. Hodges, Freddie or Alex?" Alex replied for me. "We lived in the same area. He didn't pay much attention to me back then." I turned to Gina. She was a couple of years below me at school and we weren't close. "And you were a troublemaker back then?" she asked with a grin. "It seems you haven't changed much. Almost 40 and in jail." I blushed. "I still speak my mind when I shouldn't." "That's what I heard," she said. "They used to call you Tex." Gina asked, "Why Tex?" "That was his nickname. He always stood up for himself. Your mom has definitely wronged him. And I bet all the news about the law firm is his doing." "I plead the fifth," I said. Before we go on, I hope you don't mind that I've been spending time with Regina." "It's Gina," Gina corrected. "Sorry, I forgot," Alex said. She continued, "When I first met Gina about 9 months ago, she was really upset. I wondered if she was related to you, as D'Angelo isn't common. When she said her dad was Kurt and in jail, I thought it might be you. I knew you as Texas." "I admit I was pretty rough back then," I said. "You must have done well to have a house in Wilmette." "It's just a house, not really my home," I said. Then Gina added, "Yeah, our real home is in Oak Forest, a better neighborhood than where we grew up." "If only we'd stayed there, maybe things would be different," Alex said, looking sad. "We would still be together if Lily had been happy with our first home," I said. After a while, I pulled Alex aside. "Thanks for helping Gina become independent. It's going to change everything." "No problem. She's like family to me now," Alex replied. "When you get out, you owe us a dinner," she joked. "That I will," I promised, "if I ever get out." The next 2 weeks were routine, but Gina and Alex visited each Sunday. Gina told me Alex helped her decorate our house with new furniture, all paid by Uncle Ken. I was glad to hear Alex hadn't paid for it. "I hope it isn't too girly," I said. "Don't worry, your man cave is still intact," she assured me. After they left, I lay there thinking about Gina growing up. Soon she'd be off to college and I'd be alone. I hoped to meet someone simple and genuine. Then Lily visited again. "Kurt, wait, we need to talk," she said as I turned to leave. "What now?" I thought. "Do you know what our daughter did?" "What are you talking about?" I asked. "She became emancipated. She's moved out and I don't know where." "Oh, that," I said. "Did you make her do this?" she accused. "No, she did it on her own. Her school counselor helped her." "So where is she staying?" "With the counselor." "No, she moved back to the South Side." "What about school?" "She'll go back to Oak Forest in the fall. She never liked Wilmette. They made her feel out of place." "You took her from a school where she was happy and forced her into one where she felt inferior," I said. "I just wanted her to have a good education," Lily defended. "Children learn more from what they see at home than from school. What do you think your actions taught her?" "I hope she learns what not to do. We should be raising responsible adults. I hope she can overlook our failures, especially our failed marriage. It wasn't all bad," she admitted, "but it certainly didn't end well. Lily, I hope you find what you're looking for." "I clearly didn't have it," I said, noticing the sadness in her eyes. I got up and left the table, feeling a bit sorry for her. Soon it was time for my release. I went to court where Gina, Freddie, and Lily were present. As we waited for the judge, I wondered what he would say. I was still not going to apologize. When the bailiff told us to stand, a new judge walked in. I wondered if the old one had lost his job. The judge reviewed the facts of my case, then asked, "Mr. D'Angelo, what do you have to say for yourself?" After a pause, I replied, "I've served the initial 6 months and an additional 2. I never felt the previous judge deserved an apology." "You're a stubborn man, Mr. D'Angelo," he observed. "I'd say I'm strong-willed, which has helped me succeed," I responded. He then discussed the divorce settlement, saying I still owed payments. My lawyer interjected, "Your Honor, my client will pay what he owes, which we calculate as just under $20,000. He'll pay $20,000 today to settle his debts." Lily stood up, shocked. "What? You owe me more and you need to keep paying until Regina is 18. The judge quieted the room, asking my lawyer how he arrived at the figure. My lawyer explained he paid initial support and continued supporting his daughter and insurance payments during his incarceration. He couldn't make spousal or mortgage payments without a job. Now, with the house foreclosed and his daughter legally an adult, we believe $20,000 covers all debts. The judge reviewed the documents and agreed to consider the settlement. He reminded us that despite everything, we needed to remain civil for Gina's sake. "Can I count on you to be civil, Mr. D'Angelo?" he asked. "Yes, Your Honor," I responded, and Lily agreed reluctantly. The judge concluded, "Unless these figures prove false, I will close this case, and Mr. D'Angelo, you are free to go." Gina ran up and hugged me, with Freddie smiling nearby. Lily, upset, confronted me about the settlement. I reminded her of the judge's request for civility and offered her temporary housing to help her get back on her feet. "How can you ask me to move back to the South Side?" she protested. "It's free rent, Lily. It's a start," I replied. Turning to Gina and Freddie, I asked, "Ready to go?" They agreed, and I suggested dinner at an Italian restaurant we used to visit. "I've made a reservation for 4. Freddie, could your husband join us?" Her expression changed, leaving me uncertain about her response. Then Gina told me, "Dad, she doesn't have a husband anymore." To Alex, she said, "I'm sorry, Dr. Hodges. I never told him." Alex was wearing a wedding ring, which confused me. "I'm sorry, Freddie, if I offended you," I apologized. "No, don't worry about it," she replied. "You didn't know my husband was killed in a car accident on the Eisenhower 5 years ago. A truck hit him and he died instantly." "I'm so sorry, Freddie," I said. "I assumed you were still married because of the rings." "I just can't bring myself to take them off yet," she explained. "It feels like I'd be throwing him away if I did. It's hard." "I'm sorry," I said again. "Would you join us for dinner so I can make it up to you?" She agreed, looking a bit sad. I realized I had been so wrapped up in my own issues that I never asked about her life. I felt terrible about that. Starting tonight, I decided to be more open and a better friend. The dinner went well. It felt good to wear normal clothes and relax. Being free after 8 months felt strange. By the end of the meal, I felt better about everything and asked Freddie, "When you're ready, could I take you on a real date? No rush, whenever you're ready." "Meanwhile, can we keep in touch?" "Of course we're staying in touch," Gina chimed in. "She's not getting rid of me that easily," she joked. Then Freddie shared, "Mike and I never had kids because of my studies and his business. It never seemed the right time. So having Gina as a kind of daughter has been very healing. I hope you're okay with that." "After everything you've done for us, I wouldn't have it any other way," I replied as we left the restaurant. "I hope you like how our old house looks now," Gina said. "Anything will be better than jail," I laughed. When we arrived, I noticed the fresh paint and trimmed bushes. The house looked great from the outside. Inside, it felt more like a home than ever before, thanks to Freddie's touches. I started to tear up, feeling surprisingly emotional. "Kurt!" Freddie called out. I wiped my eyes and said, "I feel at home." "Kurt," Alex added, then paused and said, "I think I'm ready." I was puzzled until she took off her rings and smiled. We hugged, both smiling. The fallout from my divorce had ruined many careers and marriages. Was I stubborn or strong-willed? Either way, standing by my principles had its rewards. Gina gained a new mother figure and 2 much younger siblings, Frederick and Alexis, named after Freddie. As for Lily, she married a wealthy lawyer, achieving the status she always wanted. She now lives in a big house in Winnetka with a husband who doesn't truly love her, just keeps her for appearances. I hope she finds happiness. Thanks for listening to One Infidelity Hit. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and drop us a like.